Ego takes the wheel. They both snap. Oh my gosh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 983 Media Infinity Gauntlet Marvel Snap Invitational. I am Blevins, joined by KM Best. What's up, buddy?
How you doing? I am honored to be here, and I cannot wait to dive into some great Marvel Snap games.
Yeah, we've got some really great Marvel Snap games, and there has been a lot of Marvel Snap games played in this event already. As you can tell from us being on the commentary desk, we unfortunately have been eliminated, as you've probably seen in the previous videos, but we've got some really great matches to cast here today. So we're going to be looking at winners round 3 here. And we're going to be starting with a banger of a match here, KM. We're going to be looking at Jeff Hoogland versus Freddy here. So before we jump into that match, let's take a look at their decks here.
Now, Jeff's deck is one of the, I believe he described it as least sweaty decks in the entire tournament, but he has been blessed with matchups that definitely seem to favor him so far. Jeff is playing a bounce deck with the 3 main beat sticks in the deck being Angela, Bishop, and Darkhawk. And he is using America Chavez to more reliably draw his Falcon and Beast earlier in the game. And this is a fairly normal bounce deck outside of the fact that nobody really plays bounce anymore, and definitely haven't since Darkhawk came out. So this is actually a little bit of an innovation from Jeff in terms of whether or not people thought this deck was viable. I'll tell you, I've taken this deck for a spin on ladder. It can do some really powerful things. So definitely not something to write off.
Yeah, it's a deck that when you look at it on paper and it's like, this kind of just looks like a pile of junk. And in a way, it kind of is. But here's the thing, it really leans into the mechanics of Marvel Snap specifically outside of other card games, right? You look at some of these other decks, these Thanos decks, these even Galactus decks, like, okay, as a card game player from another game, this makes sense what I'm doing. I'm putting big units into play. I'm putting a lot of power, a lot of synergy. This is like, these cards, they make sense together when you see the deck play, but you look at it on paper and it's like, I'm playing a bunch of like small units, but the fact that you can put power into specific lanes at weird times and throw off your opponent, you get to really lean into that with this deck, which is really unique to Marvel Snap, and we've seen Jeff thus far really capitalize on that.
Yeah, but if I were to highlight one other card in the deck that's really important, I would say that card is Bast. Bast setting all of your cards to a base power of 3.
Yep.
Very good. There are very few cards in this deck that will not benefit from that you will have in hand with any regularity. One thing that I will point out, when I played this deck, I struggled a lot with sequencing when I had Bast, the Hood, and a bounce card in my hand. So it was hard to balance the Hood creating his 6-power demon with Bast buffing the Hood and maximizing my power output in that spot. So I'm interested to see how Jeff pilots this deck.
Yeah, well, we've seen a few rounds of Jeff Hoogland play, and it's definitely worked out for him thus far. But let's take a look at their opponent here in Freddy. And KM, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this deck, as I looked at it before we started casting, and I'm like, okay, I've seen all these cards get played, but not necessarily together here. I want to hear it from you.
So I've seen these sort of mid-range, no Shuri decks before. Yeah. It is eminently possible for you to win plenty of games of Marvel Snap just by getting ahead and playing Arrow. And that is sort of what seems to be happening here, because instead of being so reliant on, specifically going, I'm going to play Cosmo into Shuri, into Red Skull, into Taskmaster, we're just playing a bunch of good cards and doing our best to set up some sort of Arrow plus Titania, Arrow plus 0 Yellow Jacket, or in a pinch, you can use 0 Titania to gain priority, which will allow you to play the Arrow. You can use 0 Yellow Jacket to gain priority, which will again allow you to effectively play the Arrow. This looks like a very straightforward priority control deck to me. I will also say, inside baseball here, I know Freddy and Specimen tested together for this event, and I am very intrigued by the fact that both of them ended up with Spider-Woman somewhere in their lineup.
Yeah, and Spider-Woman definitely seems like it may have an advantage going into Jeff's deck that is trying to populate almost the entire board in a lot of their games. So we'll definitely have to see how this game plays out. But we will be seeing that in just a moment here as we jump into the match. All right, KM. Here it is. Jeff Hoogland versus Freddybabes here. Take a look at these opening hands. We got Killmonger, a pair of 1-drops, and the arrow for Freddy. Definitely strong opener, it looks like, for Freddy here.
Sherry's lab is a very interesting location for Jeff in that his biggest unit is usually a Darkhawk, an Angela, or a Bishop, which does not work well with Sherry's lab.
Right.
Bishop, of course, doubles to 2, Darkhawk doubles to 0, and Angela also doubles to 0. So we're looking at, that's a tough lane to contest, especially against a deck full of big bodies as Freddy's is.
Yeah, Freddy's deck is not running Shuri, but sometimes the game just gives you a Shuri, and your deck is running a lot of the cards that the Shuri deck is already running. So this definitely seems like advantage Freddy as we jump into these early rounds.
There's an interesting interplay in this matchup where Jeff has a bunch of things that cost 1, and Freddy has a Killmonger, but it's a question of when he can actually pull it off, because those things that cost 1 tend to end up back in the hand. And so timing that Killmonger properly to deny future bounces might be an important thing to do. But of course, Jeff knows that.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Jeff knows that there is a Killmonger, as you know, unlike the very first round of this event, there is open information here from both players. All the players that are currently in the event have seen and can see their opponent's decks going into these matches.
We have a snap coming in. That is a very wild situation, honestly, for something this early in a battle mode with open deck lists. I would kind of have expected both players to be a little bit more risk averse here.
Right. You definitely expect that. I do. You know, this is not a pro move by any stretch of the imagination, but I do love the I'm just going to snap before X Mansion, because I know in my heart of hearts that my X Mansion is going to be better than yours. You just do it.
I mean, I think Freddy came out on top of that X Mansion there.
Oh, so, absolutely.
And especially with the Cosmo in that lane, I suspect the Cosmo was put there to deny any sort of Beast Hood shenanigans, because once the Hood costs 0, if you have Beast and Falcon, suddenly there's a lot of 6 power demons running around. But the bounce stuff is very good into Shuri's lab here, right? Because you bounce it, it already gets the double power, then you bring it back, you can do it again. Like, this is good. It's just that playing like this for Jeff, if he digs too far into it, I think at this point we're looking at, you know, we're doing all that stuff again, and then we're playing Falcon, and then we have a 24 power demon, and it's just a question of we need to not have priority, and I think Freddy knows that is kind of the issue. Freddy needs to not have priority if he wants to Killmonger and win this game.
Yeah, which is really interesting, because as we described when we were talking about the decks, Freddy's playing a priority control deck. Like, a lot of times you want priority with the arrow going into turn 6. You want to be winning 2 lanes, have an arrow, and, you know, that's that. But right now, Freddy needs to play almost the opposite of what his normal game plan is going to be against Jeff here. And it's really, I mean, this is a game of Marvel Snap more so than a lot of other games where priority is absolutely mattering. Stacking when and where you're playing your Killmonger versus trying to bait out the 1-drops from your opponent, really going to come down. Is really going to bring it to that in this game.
Yeah, we're just going to have to see, because the important part here is that he's going to need to have priority. I don't think he's going to need to not have priority. With this Falcon coming out, I think he's going to end up unable to play the Killmonger and unable to stop that 24 power demon from coming back down.
Yeah. Falcon just doing double time of not only powering up your units in Shuri's lab, but also giving your opponent priority. Though, yeah, we can see it here. Freddybabes does have priority going into this last turn, which, like you said, pretty much turns off that Killmonger, which is, I believe, going to be the win condition here if he's gonna, just from known information.
Jeff has a 24 power demon, an 8 power Korg, and a Darkhawk that has 3 base power instead of 0. Yeah. I can't see him losing this.
Right, and it looks like Freddy agrees with your analysis here, Jeff, just figuring out what the optimal lanes are, but that's going to be a retreat from Freddy, and Jeff goes up 2 cubes early in this game, and I found,
really good use of Shuri's lab with the draws that he had there. That is a very dangerous thing that the bounce deck can do if the draws line up right. And the good thing about America Chavez is it makes it way more likely that your draws line up right. Now, there's an interaction I'd like to point out here. When you play Bast into Mysterio, it does look a little bit weird, right? You went from a 2-4 to a 2-3. But what Bast does is she makes the Mysterio clones also have 3 power. So effectively, Mysterio is now a 2-9. 2 energy, 9 power. Each of the Mysterio clones will have 3 power, regardless of being a clone or being the real one.
Yeah, Bast really turns everything in that Mysterio's putting out into the real Mysterio in a way, which is pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Jeff is rolling. He is going downhill right now. Playing 3-1 drops into a potential bounce card is kind of exactly what this deck is trying to do. I do wonder if he hasn't found another of his good matchups. I do wonder if Jeff might have had a lot more trouble if there was a Shuri in here. I am a little bit interested because it seems like so far, I'm not 100% on this, but I do sort of feel like I don't think Jeff has played a lot of the people who are playing the meta decks. I think he's played the people who are playing the decks built to beat the meta decks, and they're definitely not built to beat what he's doing.
Yeah, that is the tournament calculus you have to compute, right? It's like, are you playing the best deck? Are you playing the deck that beats the best deck? Are you playing the deck that beats the deck that beats the best deck? And it looks like Jeff, you can only try to predict, but it looks like Jeff so far has landed somewhere that has been a big success, and it looks like it's still happening here. We do see that early Killmonger from Freddy.
Outstanding Killmonger.
Yeah.
He pulled the trigger at the right time, which is what we talked about earlier. You have to be able to pull the trigger at the right time with this deck. And if you get a chance, because Freddy actually won the coin flip for priority there. Both lanes were tied, so it goes to a pure coin flip. And that coin flip, I think you could arguably say, decided this match. Jeff played the bishop instead, but I think some of that was maybe out of respect for the fact that Freddy could kill Monger there. I would have probably snapped there too.
I wonder if you're supposed to snap before the Killmonger, because it's going off, right, with priority.
I think maybe you are, but I also wouldn't expect Freddy to have a lot of...
Was that a re-snap?
Okay, so Jeff snapped, then Freddy snapped? If you're Jeff... Wow. They are really going for it really early in this game.
Well, they definitely are, and if Freddy loses 8 cubes, that's the end of the match. Right?
Oh my god.
They've already lost 2. It's stacked up to 4. If this game goes to completion and Freddy does not win, that's probably the quickest match we've seen in the event.
I gotta imagine the game never goes to completion. I gotta imagine someone's leaving for 4 here. It's just leaving for 4 is a huge cost. Going into the double cubed round, although the way these people are snapping, we might not even get there. But like going into the double cube rounds of a battle mode down is very dangerous. It effectively turns it into you need to win more than your opponent can win, and that's tough, especially if you're down, because it might mean that they might be a little bit better than you or have a good matchup into you.
Sure.
It's usually not a good sign.
Yeah, and the thing that I found playing in battle mode is that you not only want to survive, but you need those cubes so that you can get them from your opponent, right? If you only have 2 cubes left, that's the maximum number you can get. You can't, double snap and 8 cube your opponent from behind. You only have 2 to give. You can only get 2 from your opponent.
Yeah. It effectively turns it into a you need to win so many games, right?
Yeah,
If it's 6-2, you need to win 3 games in a row.
Yep.
So I gotta imagine none of these players are really going to go for it here. Interesting note is it's actually a little bit difficult if you're Freddy to know the order. Like
Right.
you've had to keep track of the order in which they actually showed up on the board, which I like. You can do. It's just I definitely have been in situations where I have not.
Well, it's easy to miss because it doesn't come down. It's not like it comes down super slow. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you paying attention? Here's the first one. It's like, nope. You
And it matters because of the Falcon. Like there might not be 4 cards here on the board by the time we're done. Now it looks like it's Angela, Demon, Falcon. The Demon's going back because the Demon costs 0. Makes sense to me. Extra Bishop proc, extra Angela proc. But we didn't know if that Iceman was staying or not.
Right.
A lot of different things could have happened. Looks like Jeff is planning for the Darkhawk Mysterio Demon turn, which is why he didn't want to send the Iceman back. That's the ordering in there.
Yeah, and another note that's about Jeff's deck is because Jeff is filling up a lot of spaces on the board, it makes him less prone to Arrow, right? Like Arrow is the huge counter to one big play at the end that's going to win the lane that you're losing. Arrow just sort of takes that away and puts your big play into an irrelevant lane. But when Jeff's playing, when Jeff has most of the spots taken up on the board and then plays, 4 or 5 more things, all of a sudden Arrow's not as effective as it generally is in the current meta.
I mean, Arrow right here, extremely effective. It's
Sure.
just Freddy doesn't have.
Oh, yeah.
An Arrow in this situation would be phenomenal for Freddy.
100%.
And I think Jeff has to be aware of that, right? Like,
right.
This is if Freddy can with priority can arrow everything Jeff plays into Necrotia.
Yeah,
I almost think he'll win Necrotia. It's interesting because Arrow. What'll happen is it'll pull the Mysterios all in some order. I don't think Jeff wanted to risk the Arrow there. Like it is a dangerous situation to be in. His Darkhawk was only 6 points. He was only going to be able to put an additional 3 there, assuming he wanted to maximize Bishop value off of the Mysterio. But there is a consideration of we probably already won the Bishop lane. Based on what's in Freddy's deck, there's not really a lot that can challenge the Bishop lane. So he has to figure out how he's going to win either of the other ones. And there didn't seem to be a plausible path to doing either there.
Yeah, it looked like, most of the stuff that is Arrow and Spider-Woman were probably winning the game there. So Jeff not willing to essentially, if Jeff stays in there and loses 8 cubes, like you said, you're in a horrible spot where you just have to win out, and Jeff taking a little bit more of a conservative line, but does turn 1 snap against Freddy here.
Wow. I wonder about that. He does have... this is the sort of security that America Chavez can give you, right?
Yeah.
You're more likely to draw the things that make your deck tick. You have Bishop and Falcon and Darkhawk. It's not nothing, right? You're basting into this stuff. You get big bonuses on your things. Falcon, honestly... not the worst pull. The worst pull, I think, in this case is probably Darkhawk. If Darkhawk gets pulled early, it just eats a Shang-Chi. The best pull would have been Bishop there for Jeff, I believe.
Sure. And I think Jeff calculating that, I've got pretty good hits from Sakaar, and my opponent has very bad hits, right? If they hit a Spider-Woman or an Arrow, or even a Red Skull, it's like, okay, they have a lot of power here, but now I know how I need to play around this, right? It's not I'm trying to guess when this arrow's coming out. I need to figure out if they're going to play a Red Skull in this lane or that lane. It's like, nope, this one's locked. It might not be one, but you know what you need to do, and it can really throw off your opponent as well. Or, even Killmonger, Shang-Chi, getting rid of those cards on a random
those are the ones I was thinking of that would just be the worst possible pulls. Sure. You lose a Killmonger, you don't just lose the card, you lose the threat of the card.
Right, exactly.
That is so powerful in an open deck list format to know that they don't have this thing that you would normally be playing around. Killmonger, Shang-Chi are defining cards of this matchup. Jeff has a deck full of 1-drops and a Darkhawk. Like, these are cards that are going to matter.
Yep. Absolutely. And as we can see in Freddy's hand, has both of them now. Freddy does not have priority here. Going to try to potentially get Jeff to play a few 1-drops here and pick them off. Not going to happen, though.
Jeff just rips it. He is not letting them stay there for any amount of time.
Smart, though. Jeff knows what is in the deck and when the opponent can get value off of something like a Killmonger. And Freddy knows that, too. So it's really a guessing game and who's going to blink first. And it looks like Freddy blinked and Jeff was ready.
Is this throne room just DOA for Jeff? Are we ever gonna get to a big enough power to contest, say, a hypothetical Arrow or Spider-Woman in there?
Probably
is gonna be 8. So I guess if we don't have priority, we can kind of contest a Spider-Woman. We can beat out an Arrow, if that's what we want to be doing. Setting up here again, Jeff is setting up the Darkhawk Mysterio turn. So the Darkhawk's not going to be 8, it's going to be 11 because of the Bast. And I think what Jeff is going to try to do is dump as many cards as he can, set up a Mysterio with 3 on each of the Mysterios, and then a Darkhawk, and just generally be able to threaten a contest in most of the lanes.
Well, it's also worth noting that we're going to have 2 turns of Widow's Bites here, so Jeff is really limiting the cards that Freddy has access to. Is missing out on 2 draws here, so
the Darkhawk is 13 then, with the second Widow's Bite being played, because there's 5 cards left in Freddy's deck, base power of 3 right now. The Darkhawk can win the throne room basically on its own.
Right.
So the question now is, Jeff doing very well to put the Falcon out there, forcing Freddy. At this point, Freddy would normally be like, all right, well, if he plays a bunch of cards, I'm just going to arrow them all to the throne room and win that lane for free.
Yep.
But now that there's a Falcon involved, he can't do that. There aren't going to be 4 cards on the board by the time this turn is done.
Right, and Jeff's going to have the ability to really spread out the power. And also, because of the Falcon not going to have priority going into this last lane, which is going to really reduce the effectiveness of Spider-Woman. And it looks like Freddy's just looking for the opportunity here to get some power on the Spider-Woman.
I mean, that's just a tough spot to be in if you're Freddy. At this point, we're just going to try and get Arrow to work, I think.
Right.
Because if Jeff is able to get that Darkhawk in the throne room, he's probably going to win that lane. And then from there, he's probably going to win the Titan. So, with the ability to put this many cards on the board, this is the exact scenario in which I think Jeff thinks, okay, he's going to rely on Arrow here, and I'm going to get him for relying on Arrow here. But he has to get it right. He has to put Mysterio and Iceman, specifically Iceman's positioning is where you want to look for. He's trying to predict the Arrow here.
Yeah, the Arrow. Well, if I'm Freddy, where am I looking to put the Arrow? Probably
Titan.
Probably in Titan, right?
You probably put it in Titan, and then you put a Titania in Sakaar. But because Jeff has played so many cards, it's now basically a 20%er to actually pull a Darkhawk that matters, right?
Yeah.
Because it could pull a Mysterio, it could pull the Iceman. If he puts it on Titan, Jeff is just saying, look, you're on 20% here. Well, I've played 5 cards. There's one slot there.
If the question then is Freddy even winning 2 lanes at that point? Like, does Jeff not get the Titania as well from Sakaar?
Oh,
like,
he would get
winning
Titania.
Sakaar.
He can't even play the Titania because Freddy has priority. Yeah, Freddy has to leave here.
Freddy sees it. Yeah, Freddy sees it. It's like, okay, well, I can, even if I get the Darkhawk in the throne room, I'm losing the other 2 lanes all of a sudden because Arrow's not big enough to actually contest Titan because of the Bishop and the Mysterio. Wow.
I mean, this goes to show what the power of a turn 1 snap can be.
Oh, yeah.
That could have, I think most people would not have snapped in there. And because it was a turn 1 snap, it was just sort of a cost baked in, and suddenly we're now even. I will say, Monster Island is a great role for Freddy, as he has a Shang-Chi in his deck, which is otherwise mostly just a threat to prevent Jeff from ever playing a Darkhawk out early.
Right.
But now it has an active role, although there is something to be said for losing that role if he ends up blowing it on a monster in the Monster Island.
Exactly. I mean, this is almost the scenario we were talking about last game where it's like, okay, Jeff now knows, like, okay, I can sort of either bait Freddy into thinking that I'm going to invest into Monster Island or get them to use the Shang-Chi on Monster Island. And all of a sudden, hey, I've got this Darkhawk that's going to win.
We've got a snap, and this time Freddy seems to respect it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Freddy potentially getting a little bit scared from the early snaps from Jeff. You know, Jeff has been navigating these rounds very, very well. And if Freddy's hand's not that great, hey, I want to try to get value out of these big hands. And we're going into a TVA game. Oh, boy. And Jeff, with the myriad of 1 and 2 drops, Insta-snaps. Insta-snaps on the double cube round.
Freddy has when you look at Freddy's hand, he has basically as good of a hand as his deck is ever going to give him for a TVA game. This is
really good TVA hand.
Phenomenal, right? You have Zero, Titania, Maximus, Lizard. He could... I honestly... I think if I'm him, I stay in this game. I think
re-snap, though, is the question.
I don't think so, but honestly, maybe. Like, it's that your hand is that good compared to the other things. See, like now, like Freddy has a wealth of options here. He has so many potential avenues to play here that I don't even know which one is correct.
Freddy's hand is so good, but the thing is like you can re-snap here and maybe lock in those 4 cubes. Because I think, like, if you're ever winning this game, like, this is the hand that you're going to win it with. But also, if Freddy loses, if Freddy snaps and loses, it's just game over, right?
I mean, I would also point out that going down 6-5 is genuinely a bad thing to do in this format because it gives your opponent effectively an extra life. Freddy's on 6-5. I think going up 5-2, I don't know. I would be tempted to snap back if I was Freddy looking at this hand specifically.
Well, I think it'd be 5
Jeff is bouncing a lot of hoods, and that's also super dangerous. And I think maybe Freddy needs to try to go like Maximus here and play for like a Killmonger Titania without priority. But that's dangerous because he might take priority with the Maximus.
That is true. Okay, Hood very good at giving Freddy priority. But
yeah, see, this Killmonger not gonna do a lot here. And now Jeff has 2 demons with which to work.
Yeah, I mean, this is... Well, the thing is... Oh, man.
That's why you don't want to snap, right? Like, his deck is built to take priority. Jeff's is built to lose it.
Right. But
It's
Freddy
tough.
loses if they lose here, and if they retreat, they're at 1 cube versus effectively a billion for Jeff. So I think you just have to try, right? Like, are you ever winning like 8 games in a row?
It's actually in the double cubed rounds. It's only 3. Even if you have 2, 1 4, cube,
6. Okay,
it's still
6-1. Okay.
Yeah, it's still 2 cubes per game.
Okay.
So, but this is tough. Like Freddy, I think right now has an inability to answer the demons, and so he just has to get the power right. And it's kind of a question of not even a guessing game, because wherever Jeff plays those 2 demons, he's gonna win the lane.
Right. Okay.
Maybe. We got do we have a tie coming out on the Sacred Timeline, and then a tiebreaker win for Jeff?
Yeah, the tiebreaker win because Lizard loses the power and Jeff overloaded into the TVA. So that is going to be it here.
I probably would have done the exact same thing Freddy did, and then Jeff started doing the hood stuff. I would have. I respect that play. Like, with the hand that you had right there, I probably would have done the exact same thing. Kudos to Freddy, because I saw absolutely nothing wrong with anything he did during those games. it was just a matchup that he generally, the way his deck lines up, is not sort of prepared for. Jeff's deck is a deck that A, wants to lose priority, but B, can beat Arrow even if it loses priority thanks to how many things it puts on the board. Huge shout out to Mysterio, which basically immunized him from Arrow plays some of the time during that game. It was a really good example of, I think, two players who took two different approaches to this tournament. Freddy has a deck that I would imagine he expects is good into the meta decks. And Jeff has a deck that I would imagine he expects is not very good into the meta decks, but it is very good into things like what Freddy is playing.
Yeah, it's really the meta breaker beater, right? Where, you know, you're good against all these like tech cards that are really powerful against, you know, strong, big turn 6 plays, and I'm playing like 5 things out over the course of 2 turns, and I'm bouncing stuff, and like if you play Arrow early, I don't care because I'm bouncing it with Beast and Falcon. It's like a deck that I've tried to play that style of deck from Jeff Hoogland, and I just feel like I've just got like a handful of spaghetti, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing it all wrong. But when you see a player like Jeff who has played it so well and plays it so well and understands the intricacies of Marvel Snap with priority and lane prioritization, just really, really effective as we see Jeff moving on into the winter semifinals and one step closer to winning that top prize here, as we're playing for a $3,000 prize pool for this event. So Jeff is going to be moving one step closer. Freddy not gone yet because this was the winner's side. Freddy's still going to have another chance in the losers bracket, as this is double elimination. So all the Freddy fans can still root for Freddy down in the losers bracket. And the Jeff fans are sitting pretty right now, KM, as he's moving on into the winner's side.
Congratulations to Jeff for being, we talked before the tournament, he was like, I'm not bringing an ounce of sweat in here. And here he is in the semifinals. So I think maybe that's a good strategy. Not sweating seems to have worked for him. Antiperspirant. Yeah. Always helpful.
Well, the deck is not sweaty, but how you play the deck can certainly, you can put a lot of sweat equity into playing the deck well. And that's what we're seeing here.
This episode of the Infinity Gauntlet is brought to you by BCW Supplies, our go-to source for protecting our prized collectibles. From cards to comics to coins, BCW Supplies has top-tier options to store, protect, and show off your rarest gems. Head over to bcwsupplies.com and use the code ISP10 to get 10% off your entire order. BCW Supplies. Protect, store, display.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to 983 Media Infinity Gauntlet Marvel Snap Invitational. I am Blevins, joined by KM Best. What's up, buddy?
How's it going? I am honored to be on the cast. Much appreciated for the invite, and I cannot wait to dive into some great games of Marvel Snap with you.
Hey, you took the words right out of my mouth, as we are going to be jumping into the winners bracket round 3. Dera versus Casanova. We've got a really great match coming up here, and of course the winner is going to be progressing on into the winner's semifinals. The loser is going to drop down into the losers bracket, but they will still have a shot and a chance, as it is double elimination, and we know that all too well, as we've both been eliminated from the tournament, hence why we're on the broadcast. But that's okay. We're here. We're still adding to the tournament in some way. We just won't be progressing further on into the bracket. But speaking of progressing further on into the bracket, Cam Best, let's take a look at our competitors' decks here.
Dera seems to have brought a fairly standard Shuri list. I will also say this is very similar to the Shuri list that I brought for the upper bracket. Couple differences, but nothing major. The deck, I think most people probably know it by now, is focused around playing the card Shuri, playing the card Red Skull, and then playing the card Taskmaster on the Red Skull. Now, you have Cosmo and Armor to prevent disruption. You have Zero to sort of get rid of some of the drawbacks on some of your cards, but generally that's going on things that are smaller in this deck, because a lot of the time you're hitting a Shuri with hitting a Red Skull with Shuri, there's not really room to weave a 0 in there. You can't really take that downside off of Red Skull without giving the Shuri bonus to the 0, and you definitely don't want to do that. But the amount of 1-drops, I think this is going to be an important thing for Dera, is his opponent's deck, Casanova. Casanova's playing a Thanos deck that has Arrow in it. You're going to need to be able to play around that Arrow by filling up lanes with those 1-drops, or by playing Cosmo in the lane that you do not want to get arrowed. Now, that could be a critical point in this matchup. I generally, my testing suggested that Thanos was favored in this matchup. It was tough to get Shuri to be 100% favored. Thanos, when it does the thing, Thanos has a bunch of snap equity. When a Shuri deck snaps, you kind of know what's happening. When Thanos snaps, they have the ability to snap very early and aggressively. I've seen players snap on just having the Mind Stone, for example. Oh, wow. When Thanos gets rolling downhill, it is a very dangerous deck. So I think this will be a case of who gets rolling downhill fastest and who gets rolling downhill the most. Thanos is a deck that is very good when you have momentum and you can really start playing bully ball. Now, I'll be interested to see how these two decks match up. I think, as everyone knows, these are the top dogs in the metagame right now. That's what they are. And so these are the top dogs in the metagame being piloted by two elite players. I can't wait to take a look.
Yeah, should definitely be a very great match that we're going to be seeing here. And hey, let's take a look at it right now. All right,
DeraJN Paid Pumper is the name for this account. Let's hope he does not end up pumping.
All right, well, we see Casa not taking the I see Mind Stone, I hit Snap.
It's not just Mind Stone, it's Lockjaw Mind Stone, but he's rewarded for not snapping because that Subterranea is tough.
Oh, there's the snap.
There it is.
So, you know, Elysium allows you to essentially play turn 1 on turn 2, or turn 3 on turn 2, rather. So we'll wait on the snap just to see how much value we can get.
I mean, you have Lockjaw Mind Stone, even with a Subterranea in the deck. Normally, this would be without the Subterranea. yeah. I feel you, Cass.
Yeah.
I feel you.
No.
Oh.
Victory.
Okay, I was not expecting that. That was okay. That was what we call a rage quit.
Dera snapped on the Sunspot, and Cass was just like, "Fine, I'm not dealing with it." Like, Dera snapped on Sunspot Elysium, right?
Okay.
And because that's just like Sunspot Elysium, She-Hulk. He's just gonna do a bunch of unfair stuff. But jeez, maybe he snapped on the Subterranea. I'm trying to figure it out. That's dangerous. The Gamma Lab, intriguing here.
Okay, so this is a Casanova snap here.
Yeah, that's a I have Shang-Chi snap, right?
Okay.
That's an I have Shang-Chi, and there's a Gamma Lab snap.
Yep. So this is interesting. A lot of the matches we've seen, we saw previously in the tournament, we've seen snaps, and then we see them play out. This is much more conservative of we're going to trade tit for tat here. We're still snapping just as often. I mean, we're just not necessarily
Dera has, to be clear, Dera has Shuri, Red Skull, Taskmaster. No reason not to.
The curve.
He's got it. It's just a question of, is he going to be able to get ahead in time for that to matter against what's going on here?
And you have the built-in armor, aka
Quinjet Mind Stone is heinous. We're holding the Time Stone here, too, for likely to play 2 5-cost cards to go Time Stone on 3 into 5 drop on 4.
Mm-hmm. Magneto as well. Going to play out a couple of stones here from Casanova. There's Leech. One thing to note, Leech can be absolutely devastating against all the fun decks that I play on ladder, but Red Skull just kind of laughs at Leech a lot of the time.
Well, it's devastating against Taskmaster.
It is devastating against Taskmaster and Arrow as well.
Yeah, like
the Shuri is.
It's not as bad in this matchup as people think it is. It's good. Red Skull is good into it, but Taskmaster and Arrow are now off forever.
Right.
Dera with the Titania donation here, I think is actually really slick. That is a borderline game-winning play in the context of one of these other lanes is going to be won by a Red Skull, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're still going to have a 30 power Red Skull, and unless we see Shang-Chi, that is going to win the lane, right?
Yeah. Now, there's also, the outside shot at let's say Dera plays it on Fisk Tower. Well, suddenly he's very liable to get arrowed there.
Right. Or I mean,
he just passes going for the She-Hulk play.
She-Hulk
and Red Skull here is the idea.
Okay. So we can have a 20 power She-Hulk and a 15 Red Skull, or a 30 and a 10, depending on how you want to divvy up your resources.
Right,
but Thanos is going to be,
Thanos is on
Stones
now.
Unlocked.
He's on now.
Yeah.
So if Dera puts the 15 power Red Skull in the Shadowland, he's gonna lose it.
Right. If
the Dino is gonna end up at 13 power. Okay, he avoided the Shadowland. This is interesting.
Okay, 26. So we
20.
see 20.
And
not enough.
Thanos
with the stones is not something we see all that often, especially without a lockjaw pulling out the Thanos. Just the raw, I played all the stones, and I also played Thanos. This is how Ben Brode intended the card to work.
I was expecting something a little different from Dera, but I think his play was a little better. You win. You lock up the play. You lock up the Titania lane by yanking the Titania back with the armor.
Right.
And instead of going for She-Hulk and Red Skull, which would have potentially lost the middle. I mean, there was a line that could have won him that game, which was She-Hulk off of the Shuri in the middle, I think would have won it. I would have to go back and look. It might have tied it. I'd have to go check. But, I think what he did was the best play given the information that he had. Do as much as you can to win the lane that appears to be open to contest. And I think it's possible, and I know I've done this, that he might have lost track of how many stones there were.
Sure. Well, you look at that, and we won't dwell too much on it. That play that Dera made beat all of the plays that Casa can make, except for Thanos, specifically with all of the stones.
Yes. It beats everything but literally Thanos is on.
Yep. Which is
intriguing X-Mansions coming out here.
Yeah. That looks like
a Casanova snap. We're getting an early leech. We're getting a She-Hulk. It's a great play from Cass. Because of the wave coming out here, Dera does not want anything to do with someone playing what is effectively a 13 power leech off of a wave.
Right, and well, now you mentioned bully ball happening. Casanova has a massive cube lead. Dera only ever going to be able to take 4 cubes off of Casanova here, and Casa can really, we've already seen the early snaps being played around by both players. Casa can really use that to their advantage here, as if they don't like a hand, they've got some retreat equity here. If they don't like their hand, if their opponent snaps, we can leave whenever we want here, and we can snap aggressively if we think we have a winning hand, potentially win the game in one turn or in one match.
It is definitely a tough hand from Cass here. I think a lot of the time, if you're Cass, you're going to want to be snapping very aggressively when you're up this far.
Okay, there's a Dera snap.
That would be a Dera snap, yeah. And,
yep.
I don't hate the retreat there. The hand is not very good.
Yeah, I think given the cube position, you're essentially in the same position you were, and you had a bad hand, so let's not play a bad hand against a hand that my opponent snapped with. I really like the snap there from Casanova.
If you're Cass, I think you strongly consider snapping this right now.
Yeah. You've got some stones, you've got a Devil Dino,
exactly what you're looking for. This is exactly what you're looking for. You have this massive cube advantage. Even if you lose, it's 4-3.
Right.
And 4-3 is functionally the same thing as 4-4. In the context of, if you lose a 2-cuber, you're going to lose the match.
Right.
Now, you do give your opponent a little bit of an extra life there, but it is I would much rather be 4-3 than 4-2 by more than just the difference between 2 and 3.
Right. Casa potentially wanting to just end it here, saving, maybe allowing Dera to fall into the web here, weaving the web, letting Dera maybe get a little more aggressive and stay in. Because, I mean, here's the thing. Casa could snap, but if Casa just wins the game, then they also win the match, right?
That Reality Stone coming out here is really interesting because there's a little bit like that Reality Stone. Yes, you draw a card, it's perfect. But if you have that Reality Stone, you have control over whether Baxter building is a thing. Wow.
True.
He got rid of Am I going nuts, or did he get rid of a Grand Central, turn it into a Westview that then turned into a Grand Central?
You might be right here. I don't know if I've ever seen that happen.
It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. Somewhere you could hear Ben Brode laughing.
Well, I'm pretty sure you can always hear that because he has a very boisterous and lovable laugh. But yes, I agree. Somewhere Ben Brode is laughing.
The Lockjaw is a very odd decision here, I think. I wonder, he's clearly doing something with the Titania in mind. But I think my thought process would just be, I'm going to put a big guy on the Baxter building because I am eliminated from this tournament.
Well, I don't like putting Lockjaw on a lane that I know I absolutely want to win because, like, while Lockjaw has the possibility of randomly finding some really big stuff, you can't control what the Lockjaw's lane's power is at the end of the day, right? Like, you can hit bad hits, you can get utility cards off of the Lockjaw that you don't necessarily want on a building that you just want raw power on.
This, on the other hand, very different.
Yes.
Like, when you look at the cards that are on the board, all the stones have been played at this point. There are not a lot of bad hits remaining in the deck.
True. Soulstone draws
we
a
even
Quinjet.
drew the Quinjet, which got rid of a bad hit.
Sure did. There's a Chavez. Ooh, 14 power vision. You love to see that. Oh, there's the Thanos. But Taskmaster does still get 14 powers. The vision was played. We've got big Thanos. Are we just
that Grand Central giving Cass priority?
Yeah,
is something Dera has to think about hard. So, like, right now, Dera could move the vision to the Hell's Kitchen and then play a large unit elsewhere. But this is just that Grand Central, that Shang-Chi locks it up.
Right.
The question is, how does he win the other lanes?
Yeah, because if the vision moves, you're not playing something bigger, right? So it's going to go down to 10 and then up to, you can essentially subtract 4 if you play She-Hulk.
Every card that Casanova plays makes the Devil Dinosaur that much smaller.
True. Yeah, so playing Quinjet doesn't actually do anything in the Baxter building.
Winning the Hell's Kitchen from here, like, this is the vision creates so much of what I like to call the wine in front of you dilemma, where you have to make so many conditional plays.
Right.
Where you, like, vision is one of the scariest cards in the world to see across from you in a situation like this. There are so many options available, and you just have to pick one and go.
What happens if you Shang-Chi the right? Okay, Dera ends up leaving.
Shang-Chi the right, because Cass had priority, if the vision moved and was replaced by something bigger, you would lose.
You're right. 100%.
That was just a very scary scenario, I guess, for both players. The vision was... Dera ends up leaving. I can't even tell you if that's right because of the millions of permutations of vision things that could have happened there.
The only reason that I consider staying there, even if I'm not, like, as long as I'm not 100% sure I'm losing, Dera is just in such a horrible position here because it's what, 1, 2, 3. You need to win 4 games here. Versus, like, you are in a position to win. Like, I feel like retreating there is playing to not lose rather than playing to win, if that makes sense, right? You're not losing this specific round, but you're in such an abysmal scenario here, as you can never retreat. You just have to win out games, and you're playing against a Thanos deck that just has the ability to win games from any position in the next 4 games.
I think if he didn't see a way to win, there's nothing wrong with doing what
Sure.
he did.
If
he's like, I don't think I'm going to win this against any amount of reasonable cards.
Sure.
Then you should leave.
I
Now,
agree
this
with
armor, slick move from Dera, because, you know, he doesn't run Shang-Chi, but his opponent does.
Right.
So just throwing the armor down there prevents a free monster destruction. But honestly, with his hand right here, I mean, he's going to have much juicier targets than just a 9-power monster.
Right. Ooh.
The kiln already locked up.
Yeah.
With the Sunspot. That is just devastating.
Yeah, it definitely is. Casanova now deciding, you know, is Leech going to be enough to win the middle, and then you can arrow to the right and just win, right? I guess it depends.
So this is what I mean when I talk about Thanos going downhill, right? Like, this is exactly the Thanos going downhill situation. Suddenly, there's no Taskmaster, and we're in a big guy off.
Right.
And, like, he's made... This is a phenomenally bold play. It basically says, you are not playing 2 cards ever.
Right.
And we'll see if it pans out, but I'm fairly certain Dera has the ability to play 2 cards.
I can't see what Dera has played yet, but if we just look at what we can see in Dera's hand right now.
Dera played 2 cards.
Okay.
A shame. A shame, because that means that Dera is likely gonna take the dub on the Monster Island and the Raft here. Right. Putting him back in the game. But instead of being a 4-cube victory, it's only 2. And so it's important to note that even if Casanova thinks he's losing there, he's got to stay in. There's no point. Leaving and staying in that situation are the exact same thing. So you just make a play and see if they can answer it.
Right.
But this is where I was talking about how the 1-drops would be important to sort of play around arrow. Filling up the lanes that they want to arrow you to is a critical part of playing this matchup.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a critical part of just playing Marvel Snap right now.
Oh my god, look at this hand.
So many stones, so little time.
And a lockjaw. Like when I talk about Thanos rolling downhill, this is sort of what I mean. Because obviously it's good to put stones into lockjaw in the sense that you draw a bunch of cards when you do that. But it's good to put stones into lockjaw for another reason too, and it's because they're not in your deck. They're not plausible draws off the lockjaw anymore. So suddenly you are just going all gas out of the lockjaw, which is why the Mind Stone is such a powerful play in this deck.
Yeah, it thins the deck. It draws you 2 cards that are better than regular cards that you can put in your deck if you're not playing Thanos.
just gross. I wonder where this Reality Stone ends up going. Does it end up going inside Lockjaw, or does it end up going elsewhere if we feel we need it?
Yeah, it could. It does allow Casanova to sort of buy an extra turn from the vault. If Casanova plays it on turn 5, you can open up the vault.
Yep. He's holding it. He's not putting it in the lockjaw. He's putting it in the vault, it looks like. Now, that is... I was kind of wondering, does it go in the vault? Does it go in the Isle of Silence? But the vault makes a lot of sense here. The other thing is, though, if he ever rolls Space Stone, suddenly the vault is just as in play gets.
True.
Also, you'll note, he put a Power Stone in the Lockjaw first, and that is a way of making it slightly more likely that he gets Power Stone out of the Lockjaw. He has the Thanos in hand, so the Thanos, if he ever gets the Power Stone back, I believe will be on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Once he plays that
blue,
Space Stone.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
That will be enough to have yet another unlocked or awakened, I don't know what you want to call it, on Thanos.
Yeah. The issue is, of course, if he gets the Power Stone back, he needs to play it in the Los Diablos base rather than in the Isle of Silence.
Right. That is true.
This Shang-Chi is devastating.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting Shang-Chi. And that's why you run the card. But Vision, like you said, it always makes things scary.
This is just like, even though it feels like we've always won here, the Vision makes this situation just horrifying.
Mm-hmm. Are you gonna... the Vision makes the arrow less appealing as it's less of a guarantee that it normally would be. Because
I kind of like just playing a big guy, right?
Yeah.
Because, okay, so there's only 0 left in terms of 1-drops that could reasonably contest the Isle of Silence here.
Mm-hmm.
You move it. If you move the Vision, well, we're probably winning the Los Diablos base because they haven't played a Shuri. It's not like they have anything enormous. So it's likely that we're going to win 2 of these lanes just by playing as big a possible guy in them as we can. Now, the Titania, we've just sort of assumed they get.
Right.
Let's see how this plays out.
Arrow. Oh, the arrow by 1. Wow.
Magneto. That's what happens. You play the biggest possible guy, and it just sort of works out, right? That was the biggest possible guy, and it just sort of worked out.
Wow. It absolutely did. Sometimes, you just play some beef, and it ends up working for you.
Right. You solve the Vision problem by just being like, I don't really care about that. I'm gonna just play a big guy. You still have to win 2 lanes. You put it back on them. Like, you figure out how to win with this Vision. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna lose to it.
Well, Cam, I don't want to say that just playing a lot of stats into a lane is good, but we saw Magneto take it home there, so
we end up getting the W there for Casanova. So Casanova will be moving on into the winter semifinals, but Dera is still in the game. Or still in the tournament, as they will be dropping down into the loser side, as it is a double elimination match here, or a double elimination bracket here in the 983 Infinity Gauntlet Marvel Snap Invitational. But that's going to be it for this match here. I'm Blevins, that's KM Best. We'll see you in the next one.
Hey everyone, it's the Infinity Gauntlet presented by 983 Media. I'm joined by Ben Brode, and Ben, we've had so many crazy matches going on to this one. What have you thought of the tournament so far?
It's so exciting. It's so fun. It's so fun to be here talking about Marvel Snap.
I can't imagine anyone to be better joined by than the person who's making the game. It's Ben Brode. And so
there's like 60 or 70 people making the game. I'm like, it's like 1 of 70.
There's 70 Ben Brodes?
At least, yeah.
Real talk. Where can we go to find out everyone who's working on Marvel Snap?
Oh, yeah, seconddinner.com has got like a big list of all the incredible people who work at the studio.
Make sure you check it out there. If you haven't catched all the Infinity Gauntlet as well, check out the channel here on 983 Media. We've got all the matches uploaded and online so far. So go back and check them out. We got a lot of cool matches, some wacky stuff that's been happening, but that's just Marvel Snap for you. So for this one, we're coming into a winner's bracket match between Casanova and Jeff Hoogland in this one. Let's take a look at Casanova's deck list first to start things off. He's brought a Thanos deck to the table, and again, pretty much the standard metagame style of build you expect to see here. He's running Magneto, where sometimes you can see this replaced by Infinite. Some players will favor the extra power, some players will favor the utility that Magneto can bring to the table, but the idea is to get Quinjet out, get Lockjaw out, make some very powerful swings early on, and then take advantage of what you have there. Sometimes a leash pops up and you know the game is yours. Over on Jeff Hoogland's side, though, this is a deck that looks like it is built to take advantage of synergy and synergy alone. You are trying to do some wacky stuff here, and Ben, I know this is a deck that you absolutely love to play.
I love this deck. It's got some of my favorite cards. I love the Hood. I love Black Widow. I love Korg. And this deck is trying to play lots of cards, play them cheaply, bounce them again and again and again to get their battle cries or their odd reveal effects over and over again, and benefit from cards like Angela and Bishop, who really want you to play lots of cards again and again. It also runs Bast, and so many of the cards in the deck have less than 3 power, and so it can get their power up to a much higher amount. Like, it's like the best feeling in the world to play Hood to play Bast and then play Hood, and he starts with a 3 power card. It's just feels incredible.
I love that.
Mysterio, just like one of the best cards in the game, in my opinion, for mind games. And he's great with Bishop.
I love the Bast is buffing Angela back to having a higher power effect than it was
Right.
At this point.
I used to play a very similar deck when we were like years ago with Kitty Pryde, who hilariously comes out very, very soon in Marvel Snap finally. And I think she's a huge addition to this deck. So I'm excited to see how this deck performs today and where it's going to perform after the addition of Kitty Pryde.
Wow, it's so cool to hear stuff like that. Just so many engines in the deck that can boost power. The Bishop, the Darkhawk benefiting from the stones in your opponent's deck from Korg, Angela getting buffed over and over again because you're putting those units back into your hand. So Angela's getting buffed even more over those times, and then those times where you get to play Black Widow after Black Widow after Black Widow. Your opponent's board gets clogged up.
I love it. You know, it's great. Darkhawk is especially good against Thanos decks, especially if you can stop them from drawing their stones with Korg or Black Widow. I mean, just the starting power of Darkhawk's humongous.
Yeah, I can't. Jeff has been killing it so far with this deck. I've been watching a lot of Jeff Hoogland stream as well, where this is easily, I'd say, one of his favorite decks to play. It feels like every time I tune in, at some point or another, he's bouncing stuff back to hand and taking advantage of it. So we're getting deep into the winner's bracket at this point. Casanova versus Jeff Hoogland. Let's see what they got in store. All right, and here we go. We're through round one very cleanly. The deck lists are open at this point, and so the players have available the exact lists their opponents are playing with. Kicking off with Los Diablos at the start, and I'd say that both players have the one cost card they're looking for.
That's what you want. They're looking for those two cards. And great draw. You got the Hood, which is the best target in the deck, I think.
Just kicking it off with a lot of strong stuff. Mind Stone is not a card Jeff wants to see.
Washington DC is actually pretty good for the demon that comes out of the Hood here.
Oh, yeah, just
we'll
9 power for one?
Yeah, right. It's not bad. Oh, Black Widow. Oh, here we go.
Plunder Castle. That is shutting off a lot of availability from both players.
Yeah, Jeff's got America Chavez, and we've got America Chavez, Thanos, and Magneto from Casanova.
I will say that Chavez is such an interesting card. I feel like one of the biggest benefits from it is going to be crazy stuff like this, like with Plunder Castle.
Elysium.
Whoa. Okay, that's got to be a better advantage for Casanova, I feel like.
Does that, we keep changing this. Does that turn off the ability to play the Plunder Castle entirely? Because cards that cost 6 or cost 5 instead.
Wait, hang on, you make the game. How do you not know this?
We keep changing it. Every time I learn a rule, we change the rule. Falcon. Everything bouncing back. We'll get a lot more of those on reveals.
Casanova's going to have to play this Widow's Bite like just in the middle. It's just mucking up the place here in the middle. Just turboing Magneto out of the board. So we saw that Plunder Castle was not highlighted when Casanova went to drag that Magneto to the board.
Yep, that's locked out. Look at that. Wow.
So Casanova just wins the right lane unless there's an effect that messes with this, which right now, unless Hoogland can generate a random card at this point, which I'm pretty sure they cannot with what's given in the list, the right lane is just belongs to Casanova.
Yeah, is there any way to kill the Mind Stone? I don't think so.
Nobody to move. Here comes a bunch of power. Oh, Beast again.
Beast is the thing you can now bounce again and again and again. They all cost 0, but everything already costs 0. He's gonna try, he's got to win the other 2 lanes here. They're staying in. Looks like they're going all the way to 4 cubes.
Well, Jeff's gonna think over it, I think, and come to the realization that maybe this is not possible.
That's just a huge amount of power coming down to Elysium.
9, 10, 11. It really depends on how much Casanova's gonna end up playing in this center location.
Why play Soulstone? I guess he doesn't need to. It's extra power in Elysium. He only needs to win 2 locations. He's already winning Plunder Castle.
17 power locks up the left.
Wow, that's a huge amount.
Wow.
Yeah, if he had not played Soulstone, that would have been a tie on the left. It wouldn't have been enough, though, to win the tiebreaker. Wow.
Wow, and Casanova, I think, is realizing that. You can see the facial reaction where Casanova's going, wow, if I just don't play the Soulstone.
It wouldn't have been
Wait,
enough.
time
He would have
left?
lost the tie. He would have tied
Oh,
them. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of a retreat then on that spot. Maybe Casanova missed that. Either way, Jeff Hoogland's deck, it can boast so many big power swings. Washington, D.C. being a huge benefit.
Yeah, that was
strictly from the hood.
All right, well, there's a lot of energy here.
Plus 5 energy this turn.
Yeah, that's that's a lot. It's going to leave them with not that many options on turn 2, I think.
You know, I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish this was just a permanent effect of the game.
Let's go. Just every game. Get the oh, there's Korg. I love Korg. He's so fun. It's really interesting. You can often not even tell what he's doing if your opponent doesn't play the rock, but he's just one of my favorite cards. He's got a lot of inkified golden action going on here.
Oh yeah.
A lot of bling from Jeff.
I'm telling you, they play the game so much. So many people take the game as like, it's just a game. There are players who are going to take it seriously. This is the nature of card games. It's just going to happen. Beast here to bounce everything back. Let's do it again.
Wow. He's very good at handling the number of cards in his hand. Beast and Falcon could easily just cap you out and stop you from drawing and stop you from returning stuff, but he's not ending up in that situation. Strange Academy into Hoogland is some extra power, and he's got more spaces to take advantage of it than Casanova does.
And Reality Stone's been used from Casanova at this point. It looks like Hoogland is going into the right location here, into Atlantis. Says, you know what? I'm not going to have just one thing here. Let's beef this up right now.
Angela getting some buffs.
Woo! Leech getting hit as well.
Oh,
so that's not really.
Yeah,
an option.
Leech turning to 6 is significant.
I mean, Arrow turning. All of these plays have been huge here. It's doing a lot of work trying to shut off what Casanova's got available. You know, Iceman, I feel like, is just one of the most underrated cards in the game.
There's the rock. He drew the rock from Korg.
we know how much Ben Brode likes rocks by how many locations put rocks in your deck around the board.
I love it.
We need a Dwayne Johnson variant.
Yeah, we sure do. The Rock, if you're watching the stream today, please hit me up on Twitter.
We know how much Dwayne Johnson loves Marvel
We'll
Snap.
He's probably watching right now.
You know, now that you say it, I think it's true because we've already seen the crazy stuff Ben Brode could come up with. I'm just going to believe it and take it as fact at this point. So no Falcon drawn from Hoogland means that he's got a lot of clogged stuff that's going on right now, but I think he's going to be able to get away with this one.
And he's snapping. He's putting the pressure on.
Yeah.
Yep. Casanova wants no part of that. It puts him way down.
A mere 5 cubes left to work with.
He's half dead.
This is how I feel when I wake up without coffee.
This deck is the real deal. And that then we got the Bast Hood combo again.
Whew.
Super strong.
That's one of the things that I really love about the Thanos deck in particular is that you're trading off some level of consistency for a level of power. And now you're seeing that opposite effect on Jeff Hoogland's side, where you don't have that same amount of raw power.
Wow.
You have consistency.
Wow, that's super good for Casanova.
Yeah, free lockjaw. You don't even have to draw it anymore. It's just there. Oh, by the way, if you want to play that... That's like the worst! Wait,
Yeah,
it's not the worst. You can change it now. So now you have lockjaw and your opponent doesn't.
Yeah, the Reality Stone's clutch here. That's fantastic. And the Widow's Bite is actually just a free lockjaw trigger, which is, not as... He does have the chance to draw it again. So it prevented one draw already, and it could prevent a second draw if he draws the Widow's Bite, but he does get an extra card out of Quantum Tunnel for free here.
Jeff having initiative here as well.
Yeah.
He can load up. Does he want to do that, though?
He was thinking about it.
Oh, he's going for it. A lot of powerful cards he can find.
Korg is so good because now it's the Mysterio. Oh,
Falcon.
that's not great.
It's not great, but it's definitely not bad.
Oh, hey, welcome back, Korg. Welcome back. Random 3-cost cards. Moon Knight and Cosmo. Wow. Oh,
no!
Wow. It hits Demon, which is not that relevant, but hitting Angela is very relevant.
I mean, Angela's a dead card now.
Would have been good. Oh, he drew the Widow's Bite. That prevented another draw.
Wow.
Oh, Jeff snaps.
Whoa.
Oh, is that because he's feeling it, or is he trying to bluff Casanova out knowing he's low?
I think there's like a column A, column B thing going on here. So you saw Casanova immediately like slightly confused by the snap on this one. So Casanova's looking at their hand and going, wait a second here, I got a lot of powerful stuff going on. What does Jeff have in store? He's gonna ride it out though, say, you know what, the snap's not enough, I don't believe it. 2 free cards for Casanova, but that does shut off 1 draw because the hand's full. Well, the hood comes back.
The hood back on turn 5 is better than no hood coming back on turn 6. It's so sad when you draw the hood on turn 6.
Hoogland considering playing the Bast on Mojo World just to get the additional power there.
Yeah, you want to fill that up with cards by the end of the game.
I will say that Hoogland's deck is operating really well against Magneto as well. Like, in addition to there being few targets, there's also just no space left.
Yep, that's true. He's filling it up. All right, Cosmo. I don't know if that's going to be very relevant there.
I think he's just playing Cosmo to get 3 energy on board. Or to get 3 power on board, excuse me.
All right, Bishop's getting pretty strong. America Chavez, probably the best play, except you get actually a similar amount of power by playing the 2 thanks to Bishop, even though Angela has 0 power on its own.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough from Hoogland's side. Yeah, the retreat later is coming in. You can see Jeff Hoogland's hand point of view at the top of your screen.
Yeah, that's rough. That snap he did earlier, I think, was trying to get his opponent to concede early. His hand wasn't quite good enough to snap at that point, I think. Could have been a bluff that went bad. Or maybe he was hoping to draw Darkhawk.
Yeah. I don't think it's too bad of a play, honestly. Like, if your opponent snaps right after a leech like that, I think it's a good spot where you could rep Darkhawk and be like,
Yep.
Oh, yeah, great leech you got there. Because that is a worrying effect. I certainly know that I would be considering it, I think, a lot more than I should be in a spot like that. Because you didn't see it off of the center location when it was Quantum Tunnel. And then they snap right after a leech. It's just, I think it's a good spot for him to go for the bluff, and it just didn't work in this one.
Well, he's way ahead. He could play a little bit more dangerous, right? He's got...
Yeah, that too.
10 cubes versus 5 cubes. Taking a 2-cube loss. It's pretty strong. Well, Jeff loses that one. Casanova up that round, but still down overall. 8-5.
Casanova looking a little bit stressed as well. You can see him talking it over and going, what is that? He was having trouble just figuring out that turn while your opponent's just chilling going, all right, well, I'm going to get up and go grab a drink real quick. You figure it out.
Oh, Iceman hits Leech there.
Kiln early on as well. I feel like Kiln can really benefit Jeff's deck a lot more here as well, because Casanova's trying to make big plays like turn 4 and plus.
And he knows it. He knows it. He's snapping right now.
Ooh.
Trying to take advantage of the early good locations.
You got a Bishop in your hand. You got a Black Widow in your hand. You got 2 follow-up plays. The Beast is giving you plenty more follow-up plays, so this Bishop is going to be large and in charge.
Casanova does have the Lockjaw, and so Widow's Bite is a free Lockjaw trigger here at Kiln, where he needs it. Well, my favorite.
And Jeff knows this too. I love the way that Jeff has played this forward, where if you play Bishop on Kiln afterwards, it is so easy to win that location if your opponent doesn't put like 12 power here.
Power Stone is not the best card you could have got out of Lockjaw there. He does have the ability to move. If he gets Space Stone later, he can move cards into Kiln if he needs to.
Oh, Jeff drew Darkhawk as well.
Darkhawk's a lot. Darkhawk's a lot, especially if he can play it to Kiln this turn. This is the last turn cards can go into Kiln. He can play a lot of cards this turn. He has a lot of 0-cost stuff. He's looking at Bast here. Bast definitely improves his hand, and he doesn't have to play those 0-cost cards now. The thing is, the earlier you play Korg, the higher the impact of Korg, because they have more chances to draw rocks. Oh, there's the Widow's Bite.
It's stuck!
Oh, Shang-Chi. Yeah, Shang-Chi would have been good against Darkhawk, but now it's...
The Widow's Bite's stuck, and you can't get rid of it!
Yep. No, maybe it doesn't matter. He's not... Jeff's not trying to win Kiln. He only played Bass there. He's trying to dominate the other 2 locations.
Oh goodness, I am very stressed out by this game. There's just so much going on. I wish there was a way to like read the minds of this and like
Arrow
measure.
into Lockjaw. Wow. That's you're giving up a lot of power potentially there. Could get a rock back. Oh, that location's locked up now.
That was the idea for this.
Oh wow!
Oh my!
He doesn't even get to find out what's going on. And neither do we. I guess that's got to be Darkhawk there, right? At least partially. It turns off all of like the Iceman and stuff that could have come out of there this turn. There's got to be, I think Korg is over there. There's a bunch of on reveal effects that just never got to happen at Dark Dimension.
All right, so Jeff, we know wins the center. So what happens with the rest of this now?
It depends on this lockjaw triggers. There's the rock.
Oh, the Soul Stone doesn't even do anything either. Oh no!
Oh, wow, that's a lot of power going to the middle.
And the Bishop getting buffed up. Goes to 16, goes to 17,
Oh,
goes
look
to
at that.
18.
Oh, but does the Widow's Bite give him another card, or is he maxed out? He's maxed out. That would have been tragic. If that Black Widow had given him the card he needed to go over the top on Devil Dinosaur, that would have been an amazing turnaround.
Yeah, Casanova's
Wow, so-
face. It's saying it all. How can every little thing matter that much? It's so crazy. Oh no.
Well, Casanova's all in here. They got to win every single game from here on out. And with Lamentus 1, hey, he's got some. Devil Dino's not great. The Mind Stone's not great.
Honestly, I think that Jeff can just like chill here for a while too. You play Bast and then you can wait for Bishop and then do everything else.
I think Jeff's hand's worse, right?
Well,
Wow.
not with Sacred Timeline showing up. You get to double your hand.
That's very relevant. And Black Widow's actually not great here because it gives Widow's Bite to your opponent, which doesn't hurt them because they don't have a deck to draw anyway, but it gives them a 0-cost card to fill the Sacred Timeline.
And Jeff gonna run the gambit here. He says, you know what? There's just not too many low-cost available things to my opponent, and even if there are, they're not super relevant.
That. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Space Throne, Admirable.
This is
there's
wild.
Not that many. You don't need that many spots anyway. But Casanova's cards are bigger, so maybe that's relevant. Maybe it's not. Shang-Chi doesn't matter, right? There's just nothing. He's just using it to try and get. He doesn't really need a copy of his opening hand.
I think that he's trying to take that away from Jeff. Like you're just trying to steal that possibility. And copying the opening hand means the Devil Dino gets buffed.
Oh, that's true. That's very relevant.
So Jeff playing this one really slowly. This is interesting to me. I feel like Jeff would have played this a lot more powerfully than he did.
Well, at this point, you don't. One game doesn't matter. Jeff has so many games. He just has to win one of them to win it all.
I am pretty surprised that Jeff did not play really aggressively into Sacred Timeline to double up this hand. I think there's a possibility it just didn't matter at the end of the day. I'm not going to go through and break all the numbers down.
One of the turns, right? They skipped turn 2.
Yeah, I'm just not going to go through and break all the numbers down here because that's just nigh impossible to do. Like we have how long is this? 48 seconds for the rest of the game.
Oh,
Down by
almost
one.
tied that middle location.
Wait. Mysterio. Oh, it's Mysterio's always 3 because of Bast.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was closer than.
So denying the Devil
Closer than-
Dinosaur buff on doubling up the hand could have been the difference there.
Could have been the difference. Absolutely. Will the series go long enough for it to matter? One more game here.
We have
Casanova
at
has
least,
to win the next 3 in a row.
Yeah, we have at least one more game. We have at most 3 more games.
Yep.
And look who's got Quinjet again. Cringe Jet, as Froden and I have been calling it.
Oh, it's a quick beast.
Oh, that's so
that was
bad
from
for
Scar.
Jeff. Oh, for Jeff, that's such a detriment as well, because you're trying to take advantage of Beast with Bishop and with Angela. That option's just gone.
Yep. Is it worth trying to go to Hala? It's so risky, but then it's risky also to go to the unrevealed location.
I think it's a little bit less risky for Jeff Hoogland because he can take advantage of all these early plays. For Casanova, it definitely feels like playing into Hala is like, you're okay with it, but you're kind of throwing the cards away sometimes. Maybe with Lockjaw, you're willing to run that gambit.
6-cost cards cost 1 less here, and there are a lot more 6-cost cards in Casanova's deck. A lot of stones. 5 out of 6 stones here for Casanova.
Space Stone.
Oh, is that? How close are we to Hala going off?
I mean, it's
Tied
happening
right
this turn.
Uh-oh. Oh, he's going all in with
Casanova.
She-Hulk.
If Jeff plays Darkhawk.
Darkhawk is huge. Yeah, that's a humongous swing.
2 demons is looking good too.
Double deming. Wow.
Casanova is going to lose a She-Hulk.
It's more than you need, actually. Now he's way overcommitting in some ways to that center location.
I think the Darkhawk justifies
Darkhawk,
that.
yeah, Darkhawk gives you a lot of power somewhere else. And he's going to, get America Chavez in the last turn.
He's
pulling
going
it all
to rethink
back.
it.
Wow, he's only doing 1 demon in the middle? Is that enough anyway? That's still with the Bishop.
It's 13. Oh no.
Bishop's going to go 3 times. Oh, yeah.
Oh no.
Wait, he's getting 1 more. He's getting 1 more from the last flip.
Oh, he's getting 2 more.
Yep, here we go. That's enough. That's enough by 1, right? Wow, perfectly done. Unbelievable. Minimize the overcommitment, right? He doesn't need to win by 21. He just needs to win by 1.
This is interesting from me. So Jeff is going to lock up the left lane. I'm sorry, left location with the demon there. It's very difficult for Casanova to get out of that spot.
Yep.
He is playing the Darkhawk this turn to unlock the America Chavez on the final turn. That opens up Shang-Chi from Casanova, but I don't think that's even close to justifiable.
Yeah, I know. This is Jeff's got this one, and,
Wow.
and I think if this had been earlier in the game, it would have saw a retreat from Casanova, but Casanova's all in at this point. Has to play it all the way to the end. Shang-Chi doesn't do it at the middle location, and this is all that Casanova's capable of at this point.
Wow, it's crazy how powerful this deck can be versus Thanos. You're getting so much free.
Look at the relief on Jeff's face there.
You're getting so much free power because your opponent just has all these extra cards in their deck. And then the synergy that this deck provides, if you can't disrupt that, it feels like this deck can just absolutely run away with the game with some early buffs.
Yeah, that was fun to watch. Those a lot of little cards that have a really big impact.
Wow. So Casanova's going to drop down to the loser's bracket. Finally, after as many matches I feel like I've watched Casanova play, Jeff Hoogland continues to move on. This is Jeff Hoogland right now is like the biggest streamer in Marvel Snap. He plays the game a ton. And I know that he takes these games seriously. Even when he's just relaxing and having fun with them, he's going to try his best to win. Sometimes you beat to the tune of your own drum, but Jeff Hoogland right now looks like, so far, he's running away with this tournament.
And it's some exciting cards. It's fun to watch this deck do its thing.
I can't wait to see what else is going to come up with this one. You mentioned there's a new card coming pretty soon. Where can we check that out, Ben?
Well, this season obviously is Days of Future Past, and in the comics, Kitty Pryde is the main character of that story arc. So she's one of the cards. We just had Master Mold come out, and Kitty Pryde coming up soon.
All right, well, Ben, it's been a pleasure casting with you so far in this one. We got a lot more Snap matches coming up. Ben, do you have any final words for us?
No, thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. I can't wait to watch the rest of the tournament.